This is one of my favorite stories from the Old Testament. When I say stories, I should really say accounts or historical record. But you know, if I slip and say story, I don't mean a made-up story. I mean something that actually happened that is recorded in the Old Testament, in the book of Daniel, actually, in chapter 3 of Daniel. And scholars say that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego perhaps were even early to mid-teens, so maybe even 15 or 16 years old, which is really amazing because these are three heroes. And we can learn lessons from them. So think about what lessons we might learn from this account as we go through it. And I've got a couple lessons at the end that I think we could all learn from these three teenagers. Okay, so before we begin in Daniel chapter 3, we need a little bit of a backstory. King Nebuchadnezzar was the king of Babylon, and he conquered some of the land of Israel, and he decided to take with him back to Babylon some of the young Hebrew young men, teenagers, who were educated and very intelligent, in good physical and mental condition. And he wanted to train these people and educate them in the ways of Babylon and make them leaders in the province of Babylon and administrators under him. And so he gave them their different names. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are actually their Babylonian names that King Nebuchadnezzar gave them. And that's how we know them. That's how they've become famous. But their Hebrew names were actually Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So you can remember that if you want to remember all the names. All right, let's begin. Daniel chapter 3. King Nebuchadnezzar had a golden statue made. It was 90 feet tall and 9 feet wide. Wow. Then the king sent out a summons to assemble all the satraps, prefects, governors, counselors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the other authorities of the province to attend the dedication of the statue that he had erected. Okay, so this was all the different leaders of the province under King Nebuchadnezzar. All right, then the herald at this dedication made a loud proclamation: "To you, O peoples, nations, and language groups, the following command is given. When you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, trigon, harp, pipes, and all kinds of music, you must bow down and worship the golden statue. Whoever does not will immediately be thrown into a furnace of blazing fire." So we have all kinds of musical instruments listed there. You see the people in the picture playing some of these instruments, and some people bowing down there because they were told if they didn't, they would be thrown into a furnace of blazing fire. But guess who did not bow down to this golden statue? Yes, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And you see the base of the statue there, the golden 90-foot statue is pretty big. And you see everyone around them is doing the wrong thing, is bowing down. But these three teenagers are doing the right thing. They are not bowing down and worshiping the statue, which would be very wrong. You see the musicians there in the front. Okay, so of course, the other leaders of the provinces went to the king and said, "Oh, king, you remember you made this decree that everyone must bow down to your statue. If not, they'll be thrown into fire furnace." Well, guess what? These three young men did not bow down. So Nebuchadnezzar said to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you don't serve my gods and don't bow down to the golden statue that I erected? If you don't, you will immediately be thrown into the furnace of blazing fire. Now, who is the God who can save you from my power? Our one God is able to rescue us from the furnace of blazing fire, and he will rescue us, O king, from your power as well. But even if he does not, let it be known to you, O king, that we don't serve your gods, and we will not bow down to the golden statue that you have erected." Okay, notice in bold they said, "Our one God." They knew about the one God, the Father. And also they said, even if God doesn't rescue us from the fire, maybe we have to be martyrs. But even if we have to be martyrs, we're going to be courageous and we will not do this wrong thing, even if everyone around us is doing the wrong thing. All right, so what do you think Nebuchadnezzar's reaction to that was? Of course, he was filled with rage. He gave orders to heat the furnace 7 times hotter than it was normally heated. He ordered strong soldiers in his army to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the furnace of blazing fire. Then the king was startled and quickly got up. He said to his ministers, "Wasn't it 3 men that we tied up and threw into the fire?" They replied to the king, "For certain, O king." He answered, "But I see 4 men, untied and walking around in the fire." Then Nebuchadnezzar called out, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out." Once the ministers had gathered around, they saw that those men were unharmed by the fire. The hair of their heads was not singed, nor were their clothes damaged. They did not even smell like smoke. Now, I have to tell you, I find this part especially amazing because it is burning season now in Georgia, starting October 1st. And when you have a wooded property with lots of trees like we do, sometimes during the year, trees and big branches fall and you have to burn them to clean them up. So they have to be cut up and then burned. And I know when I go out and work on that fire, everything on me smells like smoke. My hair, my clothes, everything about me smells like smoke. So I find this detail that we're given in the book of Daniel. They didn't even smell like smoke after coming out of a fiery furnace. So I think that's amazing. Okay, so how does this end? Nebuchadnezzar exclaimed, "Praise to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and rescues his servants who trusted in him, giving up their bodies rather than serve or bow down to any god other than their God." Then Nebuchadnezzar promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. So they had been leaders, but they were made even higher leaders. And Nebuchadnezzar actually praised the one true God, the Most High God, because these 3 men were willing to die if they had to, rather than serve or bow down to any god other than their God, as you see there. All right, what lessons can we learn? You probably have thought of some from these 3 Hebrew teenagers. 2 that I think of are, first, remember that the Father is the one God and worship only him as God. And number 2 is do the right thing and don't do the wrong thing, even if everyone around you is doing it, no matter the cost. Remember, they said that even if we have to die, we're still going to do the right thing. So they were courageous and stood up and did the right thing. And so should we.